What a wonderful place to come together and find so much information from so many wonderful people. Be sure to check out all the many content creators who do this great work in order to build a bright future. A special thanks to the event organizers, Will Keller, Leslie Powers, and Chris Jansen. It is an honor to add to such an event. And without further delay, please enjoy this presentation from CF Girl for your consideration. They say that the mind is the most powerful tool we can possess. Unfortunately, when I say they, I mean the majority of the people on this planet, who are all trapped in ego identification and are addicted materialists. Even though they are correct in the statement, they really have no idea what it truly means. It is portrayed in a way that is to push people towards a physical-based material achievement. This understanding is also being portrayed in the wrong light on purpose by the parasite class who are operating on this planet currently. We are being socially taught, at least subconsciously, how to use the power of our mind in all the wrong ways. And with that training instilled in us, there is an assurance that we will never achieve our full potential. Have no doubt, it is purposeful. If we knew the power we truly had, we would not be living in this world of such disorder and slavery. Things such as going to college to get a piece of paper that claims you are good at a skill, buying, or rather renting from the bank, a house and having a mortgage, having a family and giving them all the modern-day toys that keep them in a trance, supporting the government by being a good citizen and paying your taxes, are all part of this training process to keep us thinking that we are achieving great life goals, when really we are all just running the program as it is intended by the parasite class. The mind is the most powerful tool we have in the physical realm. This is a true statement in and of itself. It gives us the ability to expand ourselves in the physical and in the non-physical. If people were to let go of the addiction to the physical realm, they could figure out that the mind not only has the ability to affect the physical, but can also affect the non-physical. No matter how humans came into existence physically, ultimately we are all fractions of spirit, or God, or source, or that which set all things into motion, or whatever you want to identify it as. All we really are is spirit. From my standpoint, I would say there is far too many emotionally dead people and far too much materialism going around, attaching to people like a virus that attacks the independent thought and behavior. This is not just applied to physical objects, but to also the achievements and personal identifications of oneself based in fantasy. There is too much fantasy and not enough reality being promoted. Fantasy over truth will only ever create human slavery because it not only traps the physical body, it traps the mind as well. And in this particular era, we are being smothered with false over-identification of the physical perception. All personal identities we give ourselves in this current physical body are all well and good. However, they are also beside the point and in the end are hardly relevant. Because these physical shells we find ourselves in are temporary, recyclable material. And one day in the future, we will just get another one, hopefully making better choices with the lessons we learn. What matters is the fraction of spirit that we are. This is a constant factor and can never not exist. Spirit connects to our highest self, and this connects to our mind. From this statement, you might think I am saying your mind is your brain. No, not exactly. Your brain is just what has the ability to house your mind. I would even include in this the heart. So I guess I would even rephrase that statement. The brain and heart are the temporary house for the mind while we are in a physical shell. For anyone wondering, I include the heart in this due to the heart having neurons, just like the brain. The brain thinks with thought. The heart thinks with emotion. The mind has the ability to manifest reality. This means when one has proper intention, a physical or non-physical result can occur. It does not matter whether it is small or large in regards to the situation. It could be about wanting a dog for your birthday, or wanting someone you love to recover from illness. The intention one puts into the thought is the force that creates the physical result. When one follows a path to bring something into physical reality and true intention is present, one will experience thought, emotion, and action in that order. One first has the thought that they require something to take place. Then one feels the emotion that one would have if this had happened. And then finally an action takes place to make it physically manifest. This is the natural progression of this. This is how spirit wants to operate in its natural state. This happens always, whether the individual is practicing this in a positive way or a negative way. Whether the result is good or bad, all people can have this effect. Intention is only a tool and can be used for whatever the individual desires. Here is the main issue as to why people do not understand or do not think that this sort of ability is real. Their ego is in the way. And it is entirely a fear-based response. People allow the ego to become and take over their entire self because it is easier than taking personal responsibility for oneself. People are afraid of the unknown and what they think they have no control over. There is nothing wrong with having a healthy ego. The problem is that the ego is in full command of the mind, so some training is required in order to maintain this balance. When one has their ego in check, they will finally be able to operate reality as spirit intends. Until then, the ego is at the wheel and is in full control of all situations. This is not something that can be proven to anyone outside of one's own personal experiences. We are meant to take these journeys through the physical realm alone so that we can reconnect spiritually. I could recount many stories now to try to convince you, But at the end of the day, you are the one who has to make the decision to take personal responsibility, do the inner work, and discover the truth. No one can tell you how to find that, and no one can force you to adventure into the dangerous unknown in order to find it. This is the gift of free will. And Spirit has all the time in the world. It is ultimately up to you to make the choice on whether you are going to hide in the shadows and fear the unknown, or walk out into the light and choose to embrace the truth. No matter your decision and no matter what your beliefs are, you cannot change the truth of who and what you are. All we really are is Spirit. God is not an entity that would leave its creation to fend for itself by not giving any parameters to go by, but would place the obstacles of the physical realm in front of it to further enhance its spiritual growth. God would give the free will ability to allow individual intervention to take place. Spiritual growth is a private and personal matter, so the importance of experiencing this in the physical and individually is vital to progression. Freedom is the ultimate gift God gives its creation, and the goal is to achieve this through love, morality, and truth. All creation has the inherent right to live free. God's expression is always a form of love, truth, and ultimately of freedom. Principles exist in the unseen reality so that we as creatures of God have something to investigate, take into ourselves, and grow spiritually from. There is no requirement in regard to how smart someone is. To discover and understand this does not require vast amounts of formal education or even any past experiences in spirituality. All that is required is the personal care level put into this endeavor. The science of mind is really just the study of yourself, your highest self, and God. This is a definitive statement and will not ever work in any other way. Thought, emotion, and action creates all things. If you go searching for the truth, then the truth will step into your path, so that you won't be able to miss it even if you tried. Reality, as it is constructed, plays no favoritism with any of its creation. Reality must be approached fearlessly. The Bible says in Revelations 22:17, "The Spirit and the bride say, 'Let anyone who is thirsty come. Let anyone who desires drink freely from the water of life.'" If I were to analyze this statement, I would say this simply means that God has given its creation the ability to align its thoughts, emotions, and actions in accordance with law, and that at any time one has the freedom to choose to accept reality and truth as it really is. The Spirit is God, or an understanding of the law, and the bride is the individual making that choice. God does not pick and choose who to pay attention to according to how much they pray or beg. God will respond to all thought, emotion, and action that takes place within reality regardless of behavior. God does not need the acknowledgement, approval, or acceptance of any of its own creation. God is simply the conscious spirit that is experiencing the physical reality of its creation. And to pray are thoughts, emotions, and actions that are created from mind and body that cause a physical manifestation in reality. There are two ways the mind operates. There is the subconscious, or the subjective reality, that is an interpersonal experience that can only be proven by having the experience and is dictated by thought and emotion. And there is the state of consciousness, or the objective reality, that can be seen, felt, and experienced in the physical realm and is dictated by action. The subconscious, or thought and emotion, will always operate before the consciousness or the action. This is a creative process. This is how God created all that exists now. This is how all of creation continues to exist today and will continue to create into the future through eternity. Human beings have the ability to manifest physical results by aligning their thoughts, emotions, and actions within themselves. This will affect reality no matter if it is intentional or not. It can happen even when you are completely unaware of how reality works as a system. All thought is a creative force and is the jumping off point that starts the chain reaction that leads into the emotional intelligence and eventually into the physical realm. When a thought is conceived, it is formed in a limitless expanse of the non-physical. Once the thought is fully formed, it moves into the part of our bodies that can feel an emotional response from how this thought makes us feel about it. There is a level of visualization that takes place, and depending on how practiced one is in visualization, is how clear that emotion will be. Once the thought and emotion are fully formulated and operating in sync with each other, reality cannot help but respond by creating a physical reaction. No matter if that reaction is a negative or a positive one. This is where the free will of the individual has the power. Negative behavior will create negative reactions. Positive behavior will create positive reactions. This is cause and effect. Law is objective as this cannot be changed. Experience is subjective because this is spirit having a physical experience. We are unable to create law as these are already basic principles that operate within reality. We only have the ability to discover them and make use of them. Our thoughts, emotions, and actions are reflections of the fraction of the spirit within us. When our thoughts, emotions, and actions are all negative, this will create a life where all manifestation is negative in response. When our thoughts and emotions are ruled by fear, this will only ever manifest confusion, doubt, self-hate, conflict, denial, and delusion. And worst of all, slavery. When our thoughts, emotions, and actions are positive, this will create a life built around love, truth, and freedom. There is no trying. There is only doing. Thought and emotion mean nothing if action is not the ending conclusion to this creating process. So practice with care. This being said, there must always be adversary within one's own experiences so that they can learn how to create a life built with love, truth, and freedom. There is no light without the darkness. The key to creating is through the mind and working with law. The mind creates all and operates in accordance to law, no matter what. We are all fractions of the spirit that play temporary roles in the physical realm. Spirit has dropped parts of itself into our physical bodies as to have experiences and learn from this form of expression. Because we have never fully grasped this about reality, we have remained ignorant and have misused the law, which in this behavior has created hell on earth. We turned away from our inner voice and are now paying the consequences of it. Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe." This statement is really just saying that belief as a concept is subjective, and when you believe something rather than know something, the only result you will receive is the result of suffering and ultimately slavery. Spirit is with us always, and always works through our thoughts, emotions, and actions. When we use this formula with negative intention, the negative results will occur. Using this formula with positive intentions will result in positive results. It really is just that simple. This is not mystical information. It has only been occulted by the ruling parasite class in hopes that it will be forgotten by us forever. This only means we must stay true to the law to ensure that this information remains in the world and remains within us and in the hands of the everyday people. We have a limitless amount of creative power. Our fractions of spirit have no boundaries because spirit has no boundaries. Using the power of thought, emotion, and action will create physical manifestation in the physical realm. When people have a thought, they are dealing with the instinct of creative intuition. And when this thought matures, it manifests into an objective truth in physical reality. This mechanism of law operates regardless of whether the individual is even acknowledging it. Ignorance of it or denial of it will not change the ending results or excuse anyone from their actions, no matter if the result is a negative or a positive one. Physical reality will be affected by it regardless. This process is navigated by you and only you. No matter how conditions change in the universe, throughout any culture, race, belief structure, or planet, there must always be will, care, and truth, which is the same thing as thought, emotion, and action, for physical reality to exist. Spirit has no limits, so however we choose to take this reality on matters. People will always benefit from accepting truth over fantasy. But the experience in the physical is a subjective one, even when the law is objective and will operate always in the same way around the experience being had. It is all about what choices are made and how we take it in, accept it, and grow from it. All invention, art, and literature are all tools of education that has been gleaned from the highest self that is connecting to spirit and to the law. Spirit will never give us more than we can take at any given time, because it understands that we are developing into our most authentic selves, and that this process must be at the pace we, in the physical expression of spirit, can take it in. When we are ready for something new or something more complicated, spirit responds by putting it into our paths. This process can occur through one lifetime or through several. There is no time limit to full spiritual development. This is an absurd notion to God. Spirit is operated by love, so it will teach us however gently is currently required. God's very nature is to give, and the physical expression of spirit is to receive. People tend to want to look too far into the depths of the universe for spiritual truth. But the reality of it is that you never have to look much farther than your own personal environment. You should never have to look further than yourself. If we just let go, we will be surrounded by it because this is the natural state that Spirit wants to be in. Spirit embodies all of creation, and it is just a matter of how much we filter the understanding of that fact. It doesn't matter in what form truth takes, as long as it is the truth that is thought, felt, and acted upon. The law is a fixed mechanical network of tools that are used to conduct reality, and depending on how well we use those tools is how strong the impact will be in its end result. This is a responsibility to be trusted with. To misuse this information is what leads us down the paths to slavery. Even though the inspiration all comes from the same source, different expressions of spirit will take in the truth in all different and unique ways. It does not matter if it is a scientist discovering a new branch of physical reality, or an artist pulling from their inner selves to cover a new canvas, or a teacher of spirituality instructing on faith. If we have any definition on what diversity is, it should be how Spirit brings us truth. Each expression is going to embrace truth only how it should, because this is the path that Spirit wants to take. God's laws are objective in every sense. However, that being said, Spirit wants to have subjective experiences. This is the element of spontaneous fun that all life craves to fill in the gaps that require joy within us. We, as the physical expression of Spirit, are drawing from this Spirit to develop ourselves. But in turn, Spirit will also draw from us to develop itself. This may sound like an unhealthy, parasitic relationship, but really this is the infinite cycle of spiritual evolution. This is the stream of consciousness. It is required for expansion of the soul. There is no beginning and no ending. There is no first and last. We have physical birth and physical death in order only to chapter our eternal experiences, while we develop into our most spiritually authentic selves. We pull inspiration from Spirit. Spirit pulls inspiration from its physical expression. When people only halfway connect to Spirit through half-committed activities, then there is no amount of practices that will ever lead you to this truth about reality. It is not how much you meditate or how much you practice this as a belief. It is about how well you accept truth. It is all about how you practice morality. And we need to be careful about how we go about this process of discovery. Just because we discover the truth and discover its power does not mean we have the right to misuse it to gain more over others, just because they have not reached where we are in knowledge. It should always be used to empower all of creation to become its most complete self, and not be hoarded or hidden from any who seek it. This is what the ruling parasite class actively does to the people here on Earth. And before anyone pauses in their listening here to go, all those damn blah 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 doing blah blah blah, let me make this statement very clearly. We have been divided not by that which you perceive, but by the behaviors we have enacted upon each other. The ruling parasite class are the only enemy. And they knew and continue to know how to divide and conquer us. It is mainly by removing God out of sight and out of mind. They know and use the truth of reality, God's immutable laws, to create slavery for the majority, so that they can keep all this power for themselves and do whatever they want, no matter how depraved. They think this will somehow save them if they invert truth and manifest a hell world by creating practicing, participating, secondary psychopath Satanists, just like them. The ruling parasite class has infiltrated all parts of our physical experiences, and this cuts us off from our spiritual development on a grand scale. This being said, we all have the power to find spirit and reconnect with it, no matter who or what stands in our way. There is no mystery in truth. Truth is always simple. It's fantasy that is always complicated. This is why the ruling parasite class hates truth and loves fantasy. The problem is that the truth is also harsh. While fantasy is comfortable and full of feel-good expressions of it could be real fiction. So people tend to lean towards fantasy when they don't have any factors in their environments that correct the path that leads into fantasy. It is easy to get lost, and with realizing this, it is easy to conclude that finding yourself again is complicated. People also have the tendency to only be confident within a temporary time period. Yet older, people will display an external force of confidence in themselves and their abilities, but internally they will doubt their position. They hope it will turn out the way they want. Hope is a product of doubt. Doubt is a product of fear. Fear is the adversary that keeps us from developing spiritually and connecting to spirit. There is no limit to thought. So learning how to use it correctly is vital to maintain freedom and the protection of truth in the physical reality. We have so much misconception about reality as it actually is, that there is far too much theory that is being constructed and not nearly enough practice in how to operate it. This is again truth that is objective in the macrocosm and experience, or the physical expression, that is subjective in the microcosm. Understand the experiences of the individual are only subjective in the sense that it is an intimate and personal journey. To the world, as it is, viewing it on the outside looking in, the experience is a subjective one because it has not yet been proven to the external viewer. However, the subject experiencing this subjective experience comes to the conclusion that this is an irrefutable objective truth. But it is not enough to know it is truth. The subject in question must act upon truth in order to maintain it for the future that comes after. Law will work this way throughout every aspect of reality. The law is a permanent staple in our reality. We can't change or remove any part of it, but we can learn how to operate it and be part of the larger whole. Now, all of this is attempting to explain reality and how the universe fits within that, and then how the creation of spirit fits within that, which is really just the microcosm within the macrocosm. Subjective experience within objective truth. There is a stepping stone progression of spirituality within the constructs of the physical realm, so that others may discover this truth. There is no sidestepping any level of progression to get to the truth. There is a formula, and one where the individual will have a very unique experience in this journey. The steps required will never change. And if one chooses to skip a step, they will never get to the ultimate goal. The universe itself will never be a divided force. It will always have that balance. Only people have the ability to express doubt, or rather, fear, of the unknown, and fracture themselves into a chaotic, unmanageable, hot mess. We have overcomplicated this information and the process. It is important to mold our thoughts, emotions, and actions to be in alignment with spirit and law. We have the very special inherent ability to be able to look at a wrong condition and use the knowledge we can gain through our personal experiences and change this wrong condition into something that operates with law, morally and ethically. This is to accept truth and apply it within the physical realm. Remember, above all else, to live in fantasy is slavery, and to live in truth is freedom. Freedom should always be the goal. But this is a choice that only the individual can make. It takes time and practice to develop the ins and outs of this process. It's not complicated or difficult to learn, but you do need to practice the skill just like any other skill, such as riding a bike without falling off. Most people are going to fall off that bike 1,000 times and then another 1,000 times before that aha moment comes, and the information collides in the way it should within your mind, heart, and body. You don't have to take this information as fact, because I know that people need to experience what I have experienced in their own personal way. I say it so that this information can be taken in, and in the very least, be put into the consideration box in your head for further investigation. There is so much information out there in the world today, and it can be overwhelming. It takes time and practice to learn how to discern what is good information versus what is bad information. You must take in all the information from as many sources as you can, so that you can wade through the nonsense to get to the truth of the matter. This is a skill that takes time and practice to learn. You must also take the time to turn inwards and communicate with spirit so you can really connect. Doing this will allow you to understand your rights and the principles that conduct reality. You will be free in mind and body. You will be able to steer the future as you desire. Beware, this is a two-way door. Practice with care. Everything you think, feel, and do will shape the person you turn into. Once we understand that we have this great ability to create in reality, that means that we can create all things, including love and fear, history and the future, art and knowledge. So behave with care. I would like to end this presentation of an affirmation that Ernest Holmes wrote in his book, The Science of Mind. I am a center in the divine mind, a point of God-conscious life, truth, and action. My affairs are divinely guided and guarded into right action, into correct results. Everything I do, say, and think is stimulated by the truth. There is a power in the word that I speak, because it is of the truth, and it is the truth. There is a perfect, continuous right action in my life and my affairs. All belief in wrong action is dispelled, made negative. Right action alone has power, and right action is power. And power is God, the living Spirit Almighty. This Spirit animates everything that I do, say, and think. Ideas come to me daily, and these ideas are divine ideas. They direct me and sustain me without effort. I am continuously directed. I am compelled to do the right thing at the right time, to say the right word at the right time, to follow the right course at all times. All suggestion of age, poverty, limitation, or unhappiness is uprooted from my mind and cannot gain entrance to my thought. I am happy, well, and filled with perfect life. I live in the Spirit of truth and am conscious that the Spirit of truth lives in me. My word is the law unto its own manifestation, and will bring me or cause me to be brought to its fulfillment. There is no unbelief, no doubt, no uncertainty. I know, and I know that I know. Let every thought of doubt vanish from my mind, that I may know the truth, and the truth may make me free. Thank you to everyone who sat through this presentation, and I hope that you have been able to benefit from this work.